Good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. This is BRN AM for Tuesday, September 10th, 2019. Here are your headlines. We'll take a look at FinCon 2019 and talk to Daniel Kline from the Motley as to how Americans are digesting financial information. And in our second segment, raising children in the F.I.R.E movement. I'll sit down with Ali Malito as part of our Morning Pulse Academy Education segment. In our first segment, many Americans use the internet to consume financial and economic information. But did you know there's a whole community of personal finance bloggers and podcasters out there? Joining me now, Daniel Kline. He's a senior tech and consumer products reporter for the Motley. He's joining us from Washington, D.C. Hey, Daniel, how are you?
I'm good. I'm exhausted. It's been basically a 4-day working party. To be fair, I was a day late, so I've only been here 3 days due to the hurricane. But I am at FinCon, which is a financial convention. We're going to talk a little bit about it. And I am tired, but happy to be visiting with you today.
Well, I hope you're tired for all the good reasons. You've been out partying and talking. I think this is really interesting. I think many people in our audience, and our audience is very vast in terms of, financial advisors, but also, Americans just looking to save and plan for their future. Tell us about FinCon, and then we'll get into what your speech was about.
So FinCon is all of the financial creators out there. Everyone from my colleagues at the Motley to people who have incredibly successful blogs. Budgets Are Sexy, which is actually now a Motley property, but we could talk about that later. Get Rich Slowly, some of the really big names in the field, as well as freelance writers, people on the way up, people that have a podcast that 6 people listen to that want to be something big. So it's a huge exchange of ideas, and it's a room full of people that I don't want to say are all like-minded, but they all care about finance. They're all interested in saving money and sort of building a community. And it's a very supportive environment. So you might see someone who is just starting out, has the barest bit of a blog, talking to someone who's raking in $5 million a month. And they match you with mentors. So I got to mentor some people. And for us, it was a big show because we announced a new product called Soapbox. And Soapbox is a new blog network from the Motley where we're going to be purchasing existing successful blogs, and we're going to keep the creator, and we're going to let that person focus on building their community and being creative while we focus on the back end and filling in some of the technical stuff. So that's something I've been consulting with for the past few months. I think I've hinted at it to you a few times, but we're really excited about it. And we're going to start announcing acquisitions hopefully soon.
Yeah, it sounds, FinCon to me sounds amazing. I'm sorry I'm not there. Maybe I should be there, or our network should be there. Maybe next year. But what I love about it is, when I think of financial services and I think about saving for retirement, no one really owns that. So it's not really the insurance companies, it's not the financial advisor, it's not the investment managers. And really, it's going to take a community of people who are like-minded to help educate our fellow Americans about retirement. So it really is amazing that people in this community will come together. And I think this is really an underreported community in terms of what they deliver. I think people are very aware of the blogs that, that are out there, whether it's Millennial Money by our friend Grant Sabatier or the work that's done by the Motley But I feel like this is, for the first time, becoming really important in terms of reaching the American people and, quite frankly, anybody around the globe in terms of saving and planning for their future.
Yeah, and what I really liked about it is all points of view are represented. So, you get the FIRE guys, the people who would, live in a plastic bag and save all your money and retire at 35. And I think of myself as sort of a fiscally responsible, irresponsible guy, meaning I'm making the long-term right choices. I fund my 401k. I live below my means. On the other hand, I'm going to buy a big screen TV that I don't exactly need every now and then. I have 17 different coffee makers in my house because I can never decide on the right one. So all of those points of view are represented, and nobody's holding themselves out as right. So everybody sort of learns from everybody. And you don't often get in journalism, and you may know this. In the newspaper world, everyone views competitors kind of negatively. And you might have sort of like a warring factions drink, but you won't truly give of yourself. And this, I really saw some incredibly successful people, some of my colleagues who are really accomplished, taking the time to talk to someone who was new and scared, or maybe they'd made a tiny little bit of money and they want to figure out how to not, how to someday quit their job, and really do that. And that's good for the public. That's good for the people who watch this show, because maybe I got new ideas. Maybe I met some new people who I can introduce to you who will appear here. Maybe, someone will book me somewhere because they saw me speak. Really sort of an exciting thing. That said, very late nights, and because my team, my Motley Fool team that I am a tiny, tiny part of, announced our project when we finished the show yesterday, there was quite a bit of, let's call it grown-up celebrating.
Yeah. Well, I think you're certainly entitled to it. And I think that mindset, look, we've got the Broadcast Retirement Network, and yes, we are the first to market with this type of platform, but we're here to exchange ideas. And we don't, I don't hold myself out there. You don't hold yourself out there as being 100% right on everything. We have an approach. It could work for some. It may work for others. It may not work for anybody else. But I think what's important here, and it sounds like this is what's going on in FinCon, this is what's going on in the Motley Fool and other places, quite frankly, around the globe, is that it's an exchange of ideas. And what people can take away, people who are reading these blogs, people who are watching the show, listening to your podcast and others, they can take something away, just a little tidbit to make their life better and get them on the road to saving for their financial future, their road for retirement.
Yeah, it's a lot like exercise. So if you decide, and you're in much better shape than I am, but if you decide, hey, I'm not in good enough shape, you can't go to the gym and work out for 48 straight hours and be in great shape.
That's true.
So if you've made some poor financial decisions, or you find yourself in your mid-40s and you haven't saved enough for retirement, it's important to take the steps to know what you have to do and how to get there, but recognize you're not going to get there quickly. So, one of the things, and yeah, you can have some austerity measures. You could be more extreme. You could, move in with your parents or who knows what. But whatever your plan is, you need to figure it out. And the first step is going, okay, I'm not doing everything right. Let's go find some viewpoints. And that might come from me on this show. That might come from you on the television show, or guesting somewhere, or somebody we met mutually. And it doesn't matter. You take one from this basket, one from the other. Nobody follows exactly the same path.
Yeah, I think you boiled it down to a nutshell. We all follow our own path. And as we like to say, there are many roads to retirement, not just a road. Daniel Kline, always a pleasure to chat with you. Normally, folks, he's in West Palm Beach, Florida, in Washington, D.C. today. And Dan's going to be a regular feature. He's a technology and consumer products reporter. So we plan to utilize his skill set quite a bit. So Dan, until next time, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the week with your friends at FinCon, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Jeff, thanks for having me. I'm going to bed.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.
And when we come back, I'm going to sit down with MarketWatch's Alessandra Malito. She's a retirement reporter there. And we're going to learn more about the FIRE movement. In fact, raising children in the FIRE movement. Is it possible? Tune in right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Welcome back. Many know of the FIRE movement. That's the financially independent and retire early movement. And many know it as an austerity movement where you minimize expenses today, save as much as you can, and then try to experience life to its fullest. But can you raise children under the FIRE movement? Well, I recently sat down with MarketWatch's Alessandra Malito. She's a retirement reporter there to discuss this very issue. Let's check it out. Allie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming back to the program. And what's top of mind for you this week and the folks at MarketWatch?
Sure. So I write about this movement a lot called the FIRE movement. It stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. It's about people who plan to leave the workforce in their 30s or 40s, some of them even in their 20s. And I just did a week-long series about that, basically different perspectives, like people who raise their kids while pursuing FIRE, because children are expensive to raise and yet they're trying to be as frugal as possible. I also spoke to people about growing up in this FIRE mentality, even though back then, like 10, 20 years ago, they didn't call it the FIRE movement. We looked at a case study about how well off somebody may be and when they should actually pursue FIRE, and a few other perspectives. But what I thought was most interesting was just this concept of raising kids in FIRE. They might actually follow their parents' footsteps.
I think it's really interesting, and I think I've seen a lot of your writing. I follow you on Twitter and LinkedIn. So back in my day, we used to call this frugality and budgeting.
Me too.
That's nice to hear. So this movement, this approach may not be for everyone, right? I mean, there are some people who just are trying to keep up with the Joneses. They have a fear of missing out or FOMO. But is that what you kind of collected in terms of the information talking to people?
Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with frugality, and then some people, they just work. Like they will work for hours longer than the typical 9-to-5 job and do a lot of side hustles and stuff like that. That way that they can generate more income and save that. I mean, it's not for everybody though, because like some people, they value other things. Like there's always that shame around the coffee, your daily coffee and things like that.
And I know you're a huge
I'm
coffee
very
proponent,
about
so that we don't have to cut out coffee, maybe
No.
something else. Maybe a candy bar.
Yeah, candy bar, Netflix, anything, but not the coffee. But so you have that side of things where people don't necessarily want to give up different aspects of their life. Like that is their lifestyle. And if you strip yourself of everything, then what kind of life is that? You're going to be sitting in a corner like eating rice and beans. Like that's not fun. So some of the people that I talk to who pursue FIRE, they try to like spice it up a little bit. So like if they do eat rice and beans, which is a meal for many people, then one person, she said that she changed it every week. Like she would do Mexican rice and beans, or she would do Greek rice and beans, and she'd make it more fun, like a Monday meal. Other people, like when they're raising kids, they won't care too much about the furniture when the child is first born, because kids don't really care about matching, bed sets and towels and things like that. So they'll save money there because they know that when it does come down the line, kids will get more expensive, especially when they're teenagers. They might want to do some sports or club activities and things like that. But no, it's definitely not for everybody.
What's the mindset? So you retire early. One of our fellow contributors on the podcast, Grant Sabatier, is someone who's been right out in front on this issue. So you retire early. A lot of people want to get those experiences, but is there ever a worry about people running out of money and being, you're being frugal today, but maybe you just you give into that urge to buy the boat or to take the trip to another country, and it costs you lots of money, and you run out by the time you're 65 or 70. Yeah. Is that a big thought in people's minds?
Yeah, and it's not even just all of a sudden seeing this beautiful boat or wanting to take this incredible trip. Sometimes it's like the emergencies that happen. So my colleague Maria Lamagna did this great story where she talked to people who they suffered an illness or a death in the family, and they didn't have the funds because they were relying on both people and their investment income and stashing away extra cash and all that stuff. And now they, whoever was left or whoever wasn't sick, they had to go back to work. So it's definitely an issue. And also, a lot of the critics of the FIRE movement say, well, you have this perfect environment to do it now because the market hasn't crashed. Everything's been pretty nice for a while. And if something were to happen, which, markets go up and down,
Absolutely.
Will you be as safe?
So Ali, I've recently become aware that there are various variations or spectrums of FIRE. So what are these?
So they have different names. So there's lean FIRE, which is, you don't save as much before you retire. Then there's fat FIRE, where you save significantly more than you might need just in case. And then there's like barista FIRE, which is where you leave the workforce or your job before, and then you take on like a part-time job or a side gig just to supplement your income, your retirement income.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of research that needs to be done, and you got to figure out what category you would purportedly be in. But I guess each their own. More to come on that. Ali, great seeing you. Thanks for coming on this week.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always great sitting down with Ali. Interesting topic. Certainly looking forward to learning more of that. 3, 2, 1. It's always great to sit down with Ali. Certainly an interesting topic, and I look forward to hearing a lot more about the FIRE movement and how people can save for their financial futures. And really looking forward to sitting down with Ali and others in this very informative and educational segment. Folks, that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Hey, have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think might make sense to interview and tell their story? Drop us a line. And for more headlines, more news, don't forget, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, keep saving, and we'll see you right here back on BRN AM.
Waiting here for you to take and drink of. But if you're tired of the same